I know you're out there somewhere. I don't know your name yet. I don't know what your voice sounds like when you laugh, or how you take your coffee, or what keeps you awake at 3 in the morning. But I know this. You're searching too. Maybe not for me specifically. Maybe just for clarity. Maybe for someone who sees you the way no one else does. Someone who doesn't rush past the quiet parts. Someone who whispers your name like it's the only word that matters. This isn't a love letter to the idea of you. This is a promise before we've even met. A declaration I'm making now, in silence, so that when you finally hear it, when we're sitting across from each other and the world goes still, you'll know I've been preparing. Not with rehearsed lines or perfect timing, but with presence, with intention, with the kind of focus the world forgets exists. Because here's what I believe: love isn't found in the noise, it's built in the spaces between. And I'm learning to live there now, so I'm ready when you arrive. I'm sitting here in the quiet, and I'm thinking about you. Not in some abstract, poetic way. I mean really thinking about what it will feel like the first time I say your name. Not shout it across a room, not text it with a heart emoji, but whisper it. Close enough that you feel the breath behind the word. Close enough that it lands somewhere deeper than your ears. Because that's what I want you to know first. Before we argue about whose turn it is to do the dishes, before we plan trips or build anything together, before we even know if we're compatible on paper, I want you to know that I see the difference between noise and signal. And you, whoever you are, you're the signal I've been tuning my life to receive. The world is so loud right now. Everyone's shouting their opinions, their routines, their highlight reels. Everyone's optimizing for attention. And I get it. I've been there too. Chasing validation, chasing progress, chasing the next win like it would somehow make me whole. But here's what nobody told me. Progress doesn't fill the empty spaces. Achievement doesn't teach you how to sit still with someone and feel safe. Success doesn't whisper your name at midnight when doubt creeps in. Only another human being can do that. Only you. So I stopped chasing. I started preparing, and I need you to understand what that means. It doesn't mean I'm sitting around waiting for fate to deliver you to my door. It means I'm learning to be the kind of man who's ready when you arrive, the kind who doesn't treat you like a distraction from his mission, the kind who knows you are the mission. Have you ever felt that too? Like maybe the reason nothing's felt right yet is because you're not supposed to settle for someone who's only half present, someone who loves you between meetings, between notifications, between the other things they're building. You deserve more than the leftovers of someone's attention. You deserve to be the reason they go quiet, the reason the noise stops mattering. I'm learning that now. I'm practicing it every day. I'm building the discipline of focus, not just on work or goals, but on what actually sustains a human being. Presence, patience, the ability to listen without solving, to hold space without filling it, to let silence mean something again. Because when we meet, I don't want to be the guy who's constantly distracted, who checks his phone during dinner, who's mentally running numbers while you're telling me about your day. I want to be the man who makes you feel like the entire world just paused, like every sentence you speak is the most important thing I'll hear that day. And maybe that sounds intense. Maybe it sounds like too much too soon. But I'd rather risk being too intentional than too casual. I'd rather risk caring too deeply than not enough. Because I've seen what happens when people half commit, when they keep one foot out the door, when they treat love like an experiment instead of a covenant. It falls apart, slowly, quietly, until one day both people wake up and realize they've been alone together for years. I don't want that. Not with you, not with anyone. So I'm making a choice now, before we've even met. I'm choosing all in, not reckless, not naive, but fully committed to building something that doesn't fracture under pressure, something that doesn't need constant novelty to survive, something rooted in the kind of presence the world forgot how to value. Tell me, when was the last time someone made you feel like you were the only person in the room? Not because they wanted something from you, not because they were performing, but because they genuinely couldn't focus on anything else, because your existence shifted the gravity in the space. That's what I'm preparing for. That's the version of love I'm building toward. And I know it's not common. I know most people think that level of focus is unrealistic, that life's too busy, that there's too much to juggle. But here's what I've learned. We make time for what matters. We make space for what sustains us. And if I can't make space for you, for us, then I have no business calling it love. I'd just be using you to fill a gap, to check a box, to avoid feeling alone. And you deserve better than that. You deserve someone who's been preparing, who's been clearing out the noise, who's been learning to sit still so that when you arrive, there's room for you to breathe. I think about this a lot. How so many relationships fail not because people don't care, but because they never learn to focus. They're addicted to stimulation, to drama, to the dopamine hit of something new. And when the newness fades, they think the love's gone. But it was never love. It was just distraction, dressed up as connection. Real love is quieter, it's slower. It doesn't need fireworks every week to prove it's alive. It grows in repetition, in rituals, in the way you learn someone's rhythms, the way they take their tea, the way they need silence after a hard day, the way they look at you when they think you're not watching. That's the love I want with you. The kind that doesn't perform, the kind that doesn't need an audience, the kind that exists in whispered names and shared silence, and the absolute certainty that no matter how loud the world gets, we've built something the noise can't touch. But here's the truth I need to say out loud. I'm not perfect. I'm not some enlightened guru who's figured it all out. I still get distracted. I still chase goals that don't matter. I still forget to breathe sometimes. But the difference is this. I'm aware now. I'm catching myself. I'm building the muscle of presence so that when you need me, I'm actually there. Not just physically, but fully, completely, undivided. And I hope you're doing the same. I hope wherever you are right now, you're learning to protect your focus too, to say no to the noise, to choose depth over breadth, to stop apologizing for wanting something real in a world that's obsessed with surface level everything. Because when we meet, I don't want us to have to teach each other how to be present. I want us to already know. I want the first time our eyes locked to feel like coming home. Like finally someone gets it. Someone values the same things. Someone's been preparing too. So this is my message to you, whoever you are, wherever you are. I'm here. I'm focused. I'm learning to whisper instead of shout. And when the time comes, when life finally brings us together, I promise you this. You won't have to compete for my attention. You won't have to beg me to put the phone down. You won't have to wonder if I'm really listening. Because I've been practicing. For you. For us. For the kind of love that doesn't need rescuing. The kind that's built on presence, not performance. The kind that starts with a whispered name and grows into something the noise can't break. I need to tell you something that scares me. Something I don't say out loud very often. I'm afraid I'll miss you. Not miss you after we've met. I mean miss you entirely. Walk past you in a coffee shop. Scroll past your profile. Be so buried in my own head that when you're standing right there, I don't even notice. Because that's how most people lose what they're looking for. Not because it never arrived, but because they weren't paying attention when it did. They were too busy, too distracted, too convinced that love announces itself with trumpets and fireworks. So they missed the quiet knock, the soft glance, the moment that could have changed everything. I think about this more than I probably should. About all the near misses that happen every day, two people who could have built something extraordinary, separated by nothing more than bad timing, or a turned head, or a notification they didn't need to check. And the tragedy isn't that they never meet, it's that they do, and they don't even realize it. So I'm training myself to notice, to be awake, to treat every interaction like it might be the one that matters, not in some desperate, clingy way, but in a way that honors the possibility, that respects the fact that you could be anyone, anywhere. And if I'm not present enough to see you, I'll have no one to blame but myself. Have you ever walked past someone and felt something shift? Like the air changed? Like for half a second, the universe leaned in and whispered, "Pay attention." Most people ignore it. They rationalize it away. They tell themselves it was nothing. Just a random feeling. Just nerves. Just coincidence. But what if it wasn't? What if that was the signal, and we missed it because we didn't trust ourselves enough to follow it? I'm learning to trust those moments now, to slow down, to look up, to make eye contact with strangers and not be afraid of what I might find there. Because maybe you're one of those strangers. Maybe the day we meet won't feel like a movie scene. Maybe it'll just feel like a Tuesday. And the only reason I'll recognize you is because I've been practicing recognition. That's what presence really is, I think. It's not just about being calm or mindful or zen. It's about being awake enough to see what's actually in front of you, to catch the signals everyone else is too distracted to notice, to treat the mundane like it's sacred, because sometimes it is. And I know this sounds heavy, and I know it sounds like I'm putting too much weight on a relationship that doesn't even exist yet. But here's the thing I've realized. The way I wait for you is practice for how I'll love you. If I'm distracted now, I'll be distracted then. If I'm impatient now, I'll be impatient then. If I can't honor your absence, I won't know how to honor your presence. So I'm treating this time, this strange liminal space before we meet, as sacred, as preparation, as proof that when you arrive, I'll be ready. Not perfect, not flawless, but ready, awake, tuned to the right frequency. Because here's what I've learned about love. It's not something that happens to you. It's something you participate in. It requires skill, discipline, the ability to stay focused when everything around you is designed to pull your attention away. And most people never develop that skill. They just hope it'll work out. They assume chemistry will carry them, that attraction will be enough. It's not. Chemistry fades, attraction shifts. What's left after that is the ability to stay, to focus, to keep choosing each other, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when the noise is screaming for your attention, and the easiest thing in the world would be to look away. I'm not looking away. Not anymore. I'm here. I'm focused. And I'm learning to see you, even though you're not here yet. Does that sound strange? It probably does. But I mean it. I'm learning to see the shape of you in my life, the space you'll occupy, the routines we'll build, the quiet mornings and the hard conversations, and the thousand small moments that will add up to something unbreakable. And I'm protecting that space. I'm not letting just anyone fill it. I'm not settling for surface level connection just to avoid being alone. I'm not using someone else as a placeholder while I wait for you, because that would be dishonest. To them, yes, but mostly to you, to us, to the possibility of what we could build if I keep the space clear. Tell me, are you doing the same? Are you protecting the space I'll occupy? Or are you filling it with distractions because waiting feels too vulnerable, because hoping feels too dangerous? I get it if you are. I've been there too. The world tells us not to wait, not to hope, not to believe that something real is still possible. It tells us to lower our standards, to be realistic, to stop romanticizing love, and just accept whatever shows up. But I can't do that. I won't. Not because I'm naive, but because I've seen what happens when people settle. They build lives that look fine from the outside. Nice house, stable relationship. Everything checks the boxes. But inside, they're hollow. They're lonely even when they're together. They're going through the motions, wondering if this is really all there is. I refuse to live like that. I refuse to love like that. So I'm waiting. Not passively, not hopelessly, but actively, intentionally, with the full belief that you're out there doing the same. That when we finally meet, it won't be random, it won't be luck, it'll be the result of two people who valued presence enough to stay focused, who protected the space, who didn't give up on the possibility of something real. And here's what nobody tells you about waiting. It's not romantic, it's not poetic. Most days, it just feels lonely. It feels like you're the only one who still believes in this kind of love. Like everyone else has moved on, adapted, accepted the shallow version, and learned to be okay with it. But then something happens. You meet someone, maybe just for a moment, who gets it, who sees the world the same way, who's also been protecting the space, staying focused, refusing to settle, and suddenly you realize you're not alone, there are others. Not many, maybe, but enough. Enough to prove that this kind of love isn't extinct. It's just rare. And rare things require patience. So I'm being patient, but I'm also being ready, because patience without preparation is just procrastination. And I don't want to be the guy who waited his whole life for you and then wasn't ready when you showed up, who was still distracted, still half present, still learning the basics of how to focus. I'm learning now. I'm practicing now. I'm building the habits now that will let me love you the way you deserve later. And some days it feels pointless, like I'm preparing for something that might never come. But most days, it feels sacred, like I'm honoring you even before I know you. Like I'm saying, you matter enough that I'm changing my life to make room for you. And when we finally meet, when our eyes lock and something in both of us recognizes the signal, I want you to feel that. I want you to feel the years I spent preparing, the focus I built, the noise I cleared away. Not because I'm trying to impress you, but because I want you to know from the very first moment that you're not competing for my attention. You have it, completely, undivided, the way it should be. So wherever you are right now, whatever you're doing, I hope you feel this. I hope you feel someone out there holding space for you. Someone refusing to fill it with anything less than what you deserve. Someone learning to whisper your name even though he doesn't know it yet. Because when I finally do know it, when you tell me, and I get to say it back for the first time, I promise you this. It won't be loud. It won't be performed for anyone else. It'll be whispered. Close. Intentional. Like the only word I've ever needed to know. I want to tell you something that might sound contradictory. I'm preparing for you, yes. But I'm not waiting for you to complete me. I'm not sitting here broken hoping you'll arrive and fix all the pieces. Because that's not love. That's dependency. And dependency masquerading as love is the reason so many relationships collapse under their own weight. So here's what I'm actually doing. I'm becoming whole. Not perfect, not finished, but whole. Complete enough that when you arrive, you're not filling a void. You're not fixing a wound. You're not rescuing me from myself. You're adding to something that already works, something that's already stable, something that's already worth protecting. Because I need you to understand this. I don't want to need you. I want to choose you every single day. Not because I'm empty without you, but because life is fuller with you. There's a difference, and that difference is everything. Needing someone puts pressure on them to perform, to be your therapist, your savior, your entire emotional infrastructure. It makes love feel like a job. Like if they take a day off, the whole thing collapses, and no one can sustain that. No one should have to. But choosing someone, that's freedom. That's partnership. That's two whole people deciding they'd rather navigate life together than apart. Not because they can't survive alone, but because together they thrive in ways neither could predict. So I'm working on myself. Not in some self-help, productivity-obsessed way, but in the deep, uncomfortable way. The way that requires me to face the parts of myself I've been avoiding, the insecurities I've been burying, the patterns I've been repeating, the ways I sabotage connection without even realizing it. I'm doing the work now, so you don't have to fix me later. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to become perfect. I'm trying to become aware, self-aware enough that when I mess up, and I will, I can catch it. Apologize, adjust, grow, instead of defending, deflecting, blaming. Have you ever been with someone who couldn't apologize, who couldn't admit they were wrong, who made every disagreement feel like a war instead of a conversation? It's exhausting, it's lonely, and it slowly erodes trust until there's nothing left to stand on. I don't want to be that person, so I'm practicing humility now. I'm practicing the art of saying, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Help me understand. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because love without humility is just two egos fighting for dominance. And I'd rather lose an argument and keep you than win and lose us. Here's what nobody told me. The work you do before you meet someone matters more than the work you do after. Because the habits you build in solitude are the ones that show up in partnership. If you're impatient with yourself now, you'll be impatient with them later. If you can't forgive yourself now, you won't know how to forgive them later. If you can't sit with your own discomfort now, you'll run every time things get hard. So I'm sitting. I'm learning. I'm building the emotional stamina that love requires. And some days it feels pointless, like I'm doing all this work for someone who might never show up. But then I remember something important. Even if you never arrive, I'm still better for having done this. Even if this message never reaches you, I'm still becoming the kind of man I want to be. Someone who's present, someone who's humble, someone who knows how to love without needing to control. And that's worth it, with or without you. But here's the truth. I do want it to be with you. I do want to meet you. I do want to sit across from you one day and realize that all of this, all the waiting, all the work, all the preparation was leading here to this moment, to this person, to you. And when that happens, I don't want to waste it. I don't want to sabotage it because I wasn't ready, because I was still carrying wounds I refused to heal, still repeating patterns I never examined, still blaming the world for problems I created. I want to show up clean, not perfect, but honest, self-aware, ready to build something that doesn't require constant crisis to feel alive, something that can exist in the quiet, in the mundane, in the ordinary Tuesdays that most people overlook. Because that's where real love lives. Not in the grand gestures, not in the Instagram-worthy moments, but in the quiet consistency, the way you make coffee for each other without asking, the way you know when the other needs space and when they need closeness, the way you can sit in the same room doing different things and still feel connected. That's the love I'm building toward, and it requires something most people aren't willing to give: patience, presence, the willingness to be bored sometimes, to let life be slow, to stop treating every moment like it needs to be optimized or documented or turned into content. I'm learning to just be, to exist without performing, to let silence mean something again. And it's harder than you'd think. The world has trained us to be uncomfortable with stillness, to fill every gap, to scroll when we're waiting, to listen to podcasts while we walk, to never just sit with our own thoughts. But that's where you find yourself, in the silence, in the stillness, in the moments when there's nothing to distract you from who you actually are. And if you can't be alone with yourself, how can you expect someone else to want to be with you? So I'm practicing being alone, not lonely. Alone. There's a difference. Loneliness is the ache of missing something. Aloneness is the peace of being enough. And I'm working toward that peace. Because I want you to meet me there. In that calm. In that groundedness. In that space where I'm not desperately seeking validation or completion. I want you to meet someone who's already found himself. So that when we find each other, it's not about filling gaps. It's about building something new. Something neither of us could create alone. Something that honors both of our wholeness instead of exploiting our wounds. Tell me, are you doing this too? Are you sitting with yourself? Are you facing the uncomfortable parts? Are you becoming whole so that when we meet, we can build something extraordinary instead of just surviving together? I hope you are. I hope wherever you are, you're protecting your peace. You're doing the deep work. You're refusing to settle for surface level healing or quick fixes, because the depth of our relationship will only go as deep as the work we've each done alone. And I'm willing to go deep. I'm willing to face whatever I need to face, to heal whatever needs healing, to grow in whatever ways growth requires, not because I'm trying to be perfect for you, but because I'm trying to be whole for us. So this is my promise. When we meet, you won't be walking into chaos. You won't be inheriting my unresolved trauma. You won't be tasked with fixing me. You'll be walking into a life that's already stable, already peaceful, already full. And then you'll make it fuller, not by completing it, but by adding your own wholeness to mine. Two lives that were already working, now working together. Two people who were already whole, now building something neither could have imagined alone. That's the dream. That's the vision. That's what I'm preparing for. And when it happens, when you finally hear your name whispered close enough to feel it, you'll know. you'll know I've been ready. Not perfect, but ready. Whole enough to love you the way you deserve. Humble enough to grow with you. Present enough to actually see you. I need to be honest with you about something I'm afraid of. Not afraid in the sense that it stops me, but afraid in the way that keeps me sharp, keeps me aware, keeps me from taking you for granted before I've even met you. I'm afraid I won't know how to keep you, that the version of me you first meet, the one who's focused, present, intentional, will slowly fade, that I'll get comfortable, complacent, that I'll stop whispering your name and start assuming you'll always be there. And by the time I realize what I've lost, it'll be too late to get it back. Because I've seen it happen. I've watched relationships die, not from a single wound, but from 1,000 small neglects. People who started with fire, with intention, with the kind of focus I'm talking about. And then life happened. Work got busy, kids arrived, routines set in, and slowly, quietly, they stopped seeing each other. They became roommates, co-managers of a life, two people living parallel existences under the same roof. And the tragic part? Most of them didn't even notice, until it was too late. Until one day someone asked, when was the last time we really talked? And neither could remember. Until the silence between them felt heavier than any words. Until leaving felt easier than staying. I don't want that. Not with you. Not with anyone. So I'm asking myself the hard question now. How do I stay awake? How do I keep choosing you in year 10 the same way I chose you on day 1? How do I make sure the man you fall in love with is the same man you wake up next to a decade later? And here's what I've realized. It's not about grand gestures. It's not about expensive trips or surprise gifts or performing love for an audience. It's about the small, daily choices no one else sees. The decision to put the phone down when you're talking. The decision to ask how your day was and actually listen to the answer. The decision to notice when something's off and not pretend everything's fine. It's about maintenance. And I know that word sounds unromantic, but think about it. Everything worth keeping requires maintenance. Your body, your mind, your home. Why would love be any different? Why do we expect it to sustain itself on the fumes of early attraction while we put zero effort into keeping it alive? That's the lie, I think. The one the world sells us. That real love shouldn't require work. That if it's meant to be, it'll be easy. That if you have to try, it's already failing. But that's not love. That's infatuation. And infatuation has an expiration date. Real love is different. It's built. It's tended. It's protected against the entropy that pulls everything apart if you're not paying attention. And the people who make it, who stay in love for decades, not just years, they're not lucky. They're intentional. They treat their relationship like the most important project they'll ever work on. Because it is. So I'm learning that now. I'm studying it. Not from books or podcasts or relationship gurus, but from watching, from asking the right questions, from sitting with couples who've been together 40 years and asking them, how did you do it? What's the secret? And you know what they all say? There is no secret. There's just showing up every single day, even when you don't feel like it, even when you're tired, even when you'd rather scroll or work or be anywhere else. You show up. You stay curious. You keep learning who they are because people change. And if you stop paying attention, you'll wake up one day next to a stranger. Have you thought about this too? About what it takes to keep love alive past the honeymoon phase, past the novelty, past the point where most people give up and start looking for the next hit of dopamine somewhere else? I think about it constantly because I don't want to be another statistic. Another story of two people who had something real and let it slip through their fingers because they stopped trying, stopped noticing, stopped protecting what they built. And here's what scares me most. It won't feel like neglect in the moment. It'll feel justified. I'll be busy. You'll be busy. We'll both have legitimate reasons for being distracted, for putting us on the back burner, for assuming we can deal with it later. and then later becomes never, and never becomes resentment, and resentment becomes the slow death of everything we promised each other. So I'm making a different promise, a harder one. I promise to notice when I'm slipping, when I'm choosing work over you, when I'm physically present but mentally gone, when I'm treating you like you're guaranteed instead of chosen, and when I notice, I promise to course correct. Not perfectly, not instantly, but consistently. Because that's what commitment really is, I think. It's not the promise to never mess up. It's the promise to catch yourself when you do, to apologize, to adjust, to keep coming back to center, even when the world is pulling you in 1,000 different directions. And I need you to hold me to that. I need you to call me out when I'm not showing up, when I'm going through the motions, when I'm treating our relationship like something I can put on autopilot while I focus on other things. Because I will do that, not intentionally, but habitually. And habits are hard to break unless someone you love points them out. That's partnership, right? Two people committed not just to staying together, but to growing together, to calling each other higher, to refusing to let either person settle into a lesser version of themselves just because it's comfortable. I want that with you. The uncomfortable growth, the honest conversations, the willingness to say, this isn't working before it's too late to fix. Most people wait until the relationship is already dying before they try to save it. But by then, the damage is done. The resentment's too deep. The distance too wide. So I'm committing now to maintenance, to preventative care instead of emergency surgery, to checking in before there's a crisis, to asking, are we okay, even when things seem fine? Because sometimes fine is the most dangerous state. Fine means you're coasting, and coasting means you're not paying attention, and not paying attention is how you lose everything. Tell me you understand this. Tell me you're thinking about it too. About what it takes not just to find love, but to keep it, to nurture it, to protect it against the 1,000 small ways the world tries to pull you apart. Because I'm not naive. I know marriage is hard. I know there will be seasons where we're barely surviving, where we're exhausted and overwhelmed and running on empty, where the idea of a date night feels impossible, where just getting through the day feels like an accomplishment. But even then, especially then, I want us to remember this. We're not just surviving. We're building. We're protecting. We're investing in something that will outlast the hard season. And the couples who make it through those valleys, they're the ones who kept showing up even when it was hard, who kept choosing each other even when it wasn't easy, who remembered why they started in the first place. So here's what I'm asking. When we meet, when we fall, when we build this life together, don't let me get lazy. Don't let me coast. Don't let me take you for granted just because you're there. Remind me why I wrote this, why I spent years preparing, why I chose focus over noise and presence over performance. Remind me to whisper your name, not just at the beginning when everything's new and exciting, but in year 5 when things feel routine, in year 10 when we've had the same arguments 100 times, in year 20 when we know each other so well we could predict every sentence. Remind me that familiarity is not the enemy. Complacency is. And the difference between them is attention, intention, the daily choice to keep seeing you, really seeing you. Not the version of you I've memorized, but the version that's here now, today, in this moment. Because people change. You'll change, I'll change. And if we're not paying attention to who we're becoming, we'll lose each other without even leaving. We'll be together but alone. Connected on paper, but strangers in practice.
No, I refuse to let that happen. So I'm practicing now. I'm building the discipline now. I'm learning to stay awake now so that when you're here, I don't fall asleep on us, on you, on everything we could be if I just stay present.
I want to paint you a picture, a moment I've imagined 1,000 times. We're sitting somewhere quiet. Maybe it's our home. Maybe it's a park bench. Maybe it's the middle of a crowded room where somehow everything else fades away. And you look at me, really look at me, and you say, I see you.
Not I love you. Not yet. Just I see you.
Because that's what I want most. Before the promises, before the plans, before we map out our future, or decide who does what, or negotiate the logistics of merging two lives, I want to be seen fully, without performance, without pretense, without the armor I wear for everyone else. And I want to see you the same way. Not the version you think I want, not the filtered, curated, socially acceptable version, but you. Raw, real, imperfect, human. The version that's scared sometimes, that doubts sometimes, that doesn't have it all figured out and never will. That's the person I want to build with. Not the highlight reel, not the persona, but the human being underneath it all. The one who's tired some days, who's messy some days, who needs space some days and closeness others, who contradicts herself, who changes her mind, who's still figuring out who she is. Because here's what I've learned. Perfection is the enemy of connection. When you're trying to be perfect, you're not being real. And when you're not being real, you can't be seen. And when you can't be seen, you can't be loved. Not really, because what's being loved is the mask, not the person wearing it. So I'm taking mine off right now, in this message, before we've even met. I'm showing you the parts I usually hide, the fear, the doubt, the vulnerability, the ways I'm still broken, still learning, still becoming. And I'm hoping that when you read this, you'll feel safe enough to do the same. Have you ever felt that? That exhaustion of performing, of always being on, of monitoring every word and gesture to make sure you're coming across the right way? It's lonely, isn't it? Even when you're surrounded by people, especially then, because they're seeing the performance, not you. And some part of you knows it. Some part of you is screaming, this isn't real. None of this is real. But what if we could build something different? Something where you never have to perform, where you can wake up looking terrible and feeling worse and know that you're still loved, still seen, still chosen, not despite your humanity, but because of it. That's the relationship I want with you. The kind where we give each other permission to be human, to fail, to have bad days, to not always have the right words or the right energy or the right anything. Where love isn't conditional on performance, where it's not something you have to earn each day, where it just is, steady, reliable, there. And I know that sounds simple, but it's not, because most of us learned love as transaction. You do this, I'll do that. You perform well, I'll stick around. You meet my needs, I'll meet yours. It's a contract, an exchange. And the moment one person feels like they're giving more than they're getting, the whole thing starts to crumble. But what if love wasn't transactional? What if it was just commitment? Not blind commitment, not foolish commitment, but eyes wide open commitment. The kind that says, I see all of you, the good and the bad, the strengths and the wounds, and I'm choosing you anyway. Not because you're perfect, but because you're you. That's what I want to offer you. That's what I'm preparing to give. And I'm hoping that when we meet, you'll want to offer the same. Not because you have to, not because I've earned it, but because you've decided that this us is worth protecting, worth fighting for, worth showing up for even on the days when you don't feel like it. Because those days will come. The days when I'm not easy to love, when I'm stubborn or distant or caught up in my own head, when I say the wrong thing or miss the signal or fail to show up the way you need. And on those days, I'm going to need you to remember this. Remember that I'm trying. Remember that I've been preparing. Remember that even when I fall short, the intention is there. And I promise to do the same for you. To extend grace when you're not at your best. To remember that you're human. To love you not just in the moments when you're shining, but in the moments when you're struggling, when you're tired, when you're confused, when you don't have anything left to give. Those are the moments that matter most. Anyone can love you when you're easy, when you're glowing, when everything's going well. But the people who stay when you're falling apart, those are the ones who actually see you, who love you, who choose you. So this is my message to you. My promise before we've even met. I will stay, not perfectly, not flawlessly, but consistently, even when it's hard, even when it would be easier to leave, even when the noise gets loud and the world offers 1,000 reasons to give up. I will stay, and I will keep whispering your name in the good seasons and the hard ones, in the moments when everything makes sense and the moments when nothing does, in the quiet mornings and the chaotic evenings, in the years when we're building and the years when we're just surviving. Your name will be the prayer I return to, the anchor that keeps me focused, the reminder of what actually matters when everything else is screaming for attention. And here's what I need you to know. This isn't pressure. This isn't me demanding perfection from you. This is me saying, I'm ready. I'm willing. I'm here. And when you're ready to, when you've done your own work, your own preparation, your own journey toward wholeness, I'll be waiting. Not desperately, not impatiently, but hopefully, openly, with space cleared and attention focused and a heart prepared to see you, really see you, all of you. And when that moment comes, when our eyes finally meet, and something in both of us recognizes the signal, I'm going to lean in close, close enough that you can feel every word. And I'm going to ask you the simplest, most important question I know. What's your name? And when you tell me, I'm going to repeat it, softly, carefully, like I'm learning the most sacred word I'll ever speak. And from that moment on, every time I say it, whether we're in a crowded room or alone in the dark, whether we're celebrating or surviving, whether we're beginning or decades in, you'll know. You'll know you're seen, you're chosen, you're home. So wherever you are right now, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, I'm here, I'm ready. I'm waiting for you to tell me your name. And I promise, when you do, I'll spend the rest of my life learning how to say it right.